Alright, so let's talk about this, because this is actually heavily debated in the Berserk fandom and or community, whether or not Griffith was always truly evil, if he was always a bad person, and I'm gonna say this, I don't think he was always a bad person, I think he had more ambition than brains. And in a moment of irrational decision making, he kind of derailed everything he'd ever sought out to do. Not only that, but in his state and in his arrogance, he taunted the king instead of at least pretending to be apologetic about the situation. He just taunted him and actually revealed what was true about him. Now, it is revealed that it is in fact true that the king was interested in his own daughter. However, Griffith's lack of judgment in that situation made his situation way worse for himself than it needed to be. But I think we could all tell that Griffith was pretty far gone. He didn't even seem to be alarmed when he was getting arrested. He just had this straight look on his face like, interesting. Like he wasn't even present in the situation. Griffith made a rash decision because he was upset that Guts had left. Griffith was the kind of person that didn't think anyone would ever just leave him. It was always his decision whether or not they left or stayed. So he really couldn't wrap his head around the fact that somebody could not only leave him, but be strong enough to leave him, because Guts had gotten much stronger than when he first met him. And that was in part to following, what Griffith was trying to do for him. Trying to keep him on as a good soldier, and he was able to grow. So due to Griffith's training, Guts got stronger, and Guts was strong enough to wrestle his freedom from Griffith, which is something that Griffith couldn't fathom. Honestly, I think he was extremely egotistical at this point in his life because he really thought that he was unbeatable. But a part of me thinks that Griffith knew that he owed his success to Guts, and he truly did think of Guts as a friend, even though he said he didn't. He truly seemed devastated. As a matter of fact, after the visit with Charlotte, we'll say, he starts crying over Guts. Now, I gotta insert a joke here. I'm just like, I am so glad she didn't wake up doing that, because if that just happened, I wake up and dude's crying, it's like, yeah, could you leave? I thought my first instinct would be to throw him out, like, you're crying after that just happened between us. I feel really self-conscious and really gross. Could you please get out of my room? But I digress. He's actually crying over losing Guts. And the thing of it is, since Griffith did not deal with his emotions back when he, was talking about all the people who had fallen in the name of pursuing his dream with him, he was saying the best thing he could do for them is to win. That the best way to give justice to these people that had fallen was for him to get to his goal. His ambition really clouded him. It clouded his emotions. It clouded a lot of things that actually would have been beneficial to Griffith. And the funny thing is, Griffith was so tunnel visioned when it came to his dream that he didn't even realize that Guts was only taking his advice. He even said, even if he had to go against him, even if they got to squash him under their feet, they would pursue their dream. And the fact that he didn't even think of Guts as a friend, according to what he said, I could tell was a massive factor in Guts choosing to leave the Band of the Hawk. It was a massive factor in him leaving and forging his own path. And he even had to hype himself up while he was leaving, like, Griffith will be fine, he will be okay, nothing's gonna happen, he's gonna dust himself off from this. Griffith went down a very self-destructive path. I can relate, because when I've been upset about something, I've made some really bad decisions myself. Not quite to the extent where he made them, but we all, I think, have been guilty of letting our emotions cause us to act in a way we wouldn't normally, which is the result of repressing your emotions. I think the result of his ego, his tunnel vision, his more ambitions than brains, was ultimately his downfall to becoming evil. I don't think he always was evil. Now, with that being said, I finished the entire Berserk arc when it comes to the anime series. Save for the movies I still have to watch. He definitely is evil now, because he deadass goes to Guts and sees Casca like catatonic, and it's like, oh, I just want to see if I feel bad. I don't. And it's like, yeah, you're definitely evil now. But at the same point in time, I'm not going to be passing judgment on him. Now, do I agree with what he did? Absolutely not. However, I even confessed when I was talking to my friend Troy that if I was in a situation where I had to choose between being a vegetable for the rest of my damn life or losing something I think I already lost, I probably would make that decision. Because you go from this unstoppable force to this person that can't even eat without assistance, and then you have your enemies making fun of you. It can be a very disheartening experience. In Griffith's mind, I do believe at this point he really did think that he had lost everything. He had lost everything, and he blamed Guts for it. His troops even wanted to follow Guts. Casca was going to go with them, but she's like, I cannot leave Griffith here by himself. I can't do that. I can't. And in Griffith's mind, everything that had happened was Guts' fault because he lacks emotional intelligence. And that's what happens when you ignore your feelings, I know from experience. Ignoring your own feelings and burying them deep down inside of you cultivates in you not only being unable to feel anything yourself or understand your own feelings or even deal with them. You can't do that for the people around you, which isn't really fair to them. But once again, you don't think about that. Once again, I know from experience. That incident in the river where Casca ran up to him and hugged him and begged him to stop was because he didn't want to feel that pain. He didn't want to think about it. It was hurting too badly. His lack of emotional intelligence for himself then cultivated in his relationships with other people. Because rather than just telling Guts, listen, you're a crucial part to this. You're a crucial part to my dream. I really do value you, not only as a soldier, but I really truly do value you as a friend. Rather than that, Griffith kind of threw a tantrum, which is what people like that do. That's what people like that do. Then he made reckless decisions that ultimately ended up doing the last thing he would have wanted, which was costing him his dream at the time. We don't know where things are going to go with him. Now, from the manga, we know where things might be heading. It's getting very close. We're getting very close. But when it comes to Griffith as a whole, he lacked emotional intelligence as a human, and he definitely lacks it now. I think that's pretty much what's going to serve to be his undoing, because even Guts had to learn to care and show compassion. He had to go through that whole journey. Guts and Griffith have gone through essentially the same type of journey, but Guts actually learned something from it, as opposed to where Griffith seems to have been like, well, it was your fault that happened, so I don't really care. Griffith lets a lot of things overwhelm him without even realizing it, because he's so convinced he has so much control over everything around him, including himself, that he doesn't exactly realize when things are starting to slip. He fails to be there for people in the capacity where they need him. There are some who can be satisfied with what little he's able to give, and there are some who cannot. And I think that ultimately his lack of being able to deal with his own emotions and feelings is what did make him susceptible to manipulation when it came to the God Hand. When they just said, oh, you've been bad the entire time. You've been bad the entire time. And he just sort of fell into the trap. Because at that point, he really didn't have much else to lose. He had lost it all. So, I don't think Griffith was always an evil person, but I do think that he definitely is evil now. So that's just my 2 cents. Let me know your opinions in the comment section down below. Oh, and as clarification, I'm by no means defending what Griffith did, but I will say I have absolutely no idea what I would have done in that situation myself. Because for someone like Griffith, who lacks that emotional intelligence and that understanding, right? I have no idea how I would have been in that situation, especially because apparently he was 17 at the time. You are told that basically for the rest of your life you're going to be pretty much a vegetable, and you can't even eat on your own. Not to mention you're watching people that used to admire you as a strong person follow the very same man that you blame for your dream falling apart. I do believe at the time of the eclipse, in Griffith's mind, these were no longer his followers. They'd already betrayed him. And when you think you've lost everything, remember my video from earlier? The most dangerous man in the world is a man who has nothing left to lose. And he didn't. That's the thing. And I can't say that I would have made the most angelic decision myself. If I'm in a situation where I've lost everything I could possibly lose, or at least in my mind I have, like, everything I worked for is just gone. And even the person that idolizes me most is, you know, slipping. They're all I have left. And even that seems fleeting. Because although Casca wanted to stay by his side, he knew about the fact that she had formed a romantic relationship with Guts. So, a situation where the man I feel as though is responsible for everything that went wrong in my life, which Guts wasn't, it's his emotional intelligence that did, you know, his lack of emotional intelligence, excuse me, that did him in. Yeah, I can't say I probably would have made the most sound decision myself. And I'm not saying, like, oh, he's right, he's right, he's right. No, I'm saying I know exactly why he did what he did. He was pretty much just throwing a tantrum, in all honesty. What he did was the equivalent of, oh, okay, I can't have this anymore, nobody